Howdy folks, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to mod this Jaymz Telecaster kit that I built in a previous video. I'm going to replace the pickups and the tuners and see if we can make it play better. So if you haven't seen the video where I built this kit, I will put it up over here and also down below in the description so you can check it out. But this kit, I paid $103 for it from Amazon. And you know, there's a lot of other channels that also bought these before me and after my video. And at one point, Jaymz dropped the price to $85 on the kit. So there's a few out there where they got this kit for $85. Because it's mass produced, the neck plate is not a standard Fender neck plate. The control plate is not a standard Fender control plate. The bridge is not a standard Fender bridge. So replacing those is doable, but you have to do some modifying to the guitar. However, the pickups seem to be, you know, standard pickups, and the tuners seem to be standard tuners. So that's what I'm gonna do today. And I already had those things on hand. So first of all, the tuners, these are some Geiger tuners. And I had these on hand already, so I didn't have to go out and purchase them, but I looked up the price on these, and these are $29.80 right now on eBay if you wanted to buy the same tuner. So not a super expensive set of tuners, but if you're familiar with Geiger, they're actually known for giving you a pretty darn good tuner for the price, and I think these are gonna fit just perfectly. And that brings us to the pickups. Now, I had mentioned in the previous video that I had some GFS Telecaster pickups, and then I went and looked at my parts box, and I actually only had a bridge pickup. So I bought the matching neck pickup, so I actually had to buy this one. This one I have no idea how much I paid for because I've had it around for a while, but these are the vintage El Nicos. This is the vintage El Nico overwound, and then this is the vintage El Nico here. Then, as long as I was ordering, I also ordered their drop-in Telecaster wiring harness. So those pickups together, if you were to buy them new right now, they come up to $72.83. Now, if you add that to the $29.80 for the tuners, you get $102.63, which is funny because I paid $103 for the whole guitar. I'm gonna find out what happens if you drop $103 in upgrades into a $103 guitar. Okay, so first things first, let's start with the tuners, and then we can move on to the pickups. So first things first, we gotta get the string tension out of it. Now, I am gonna try to recycle the same string since I did do a couple clips with the stock pickups this morning, and then that way, that will just, you know, alleviate that as a possible factor in any sound changes. Okay, I do hear hum, so that's a good sign. Looks like we're in the neck position. Let's make sure I wired it up correctly. Yes. Middle. Yep. Bridge. Yep. And then let's make sure, yep, volume works. Tone works. All right, just for the heck of it. Volume works. Tone works. All right. So I think we did it. Let's string it back up. Now I'm already telling you here, it looks like the high E string, I'm gonna turn that off. Looks like the high E string kind of got kinked in a couple places, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to straighten it out. If I'm not, I might have to replace that string, but I think the rest of them survived. So let's string it back up.
A few moments later.
Okay, there we go, got her back together. And just putting the new strings on, as I suspected, it tuned up much, much nicer with these new tuners. They are a huge improvement. When I went to put tension on the high E string, it did snap on me. So I did have to replace the high E. So when you hear the clips, the before after clips, keep that in mind that the high E has been changed, but the rest of the strings are the exact same strings that were used in the before clips. Let's check it out. Okay, so there you have it. That was $103 in mods to the $103 Telecaster. And sorry for the time jump here, the different shirt and everything. I was so excited when I got done with the clips that I forgot to record my little outro. So I went back to edit it and realized that I'm recording it now. So first things first, I hope the YouTube compression did not ruin the nuances of the audio clips, but I am super pleased with the new pickups. The old ones had this weird character where they had this kind of high honk, and it made him like higher mid, and it made him kind of shrill sounding. And to me, a Telecaster needs to be thin sounding, but it should not sound shrill. And the new pickups are like what I want. They've got that perfect, it's like thin, but it's very clear and sounds full. The other thing that was weird about the previous pickups, when you played them with gain, it sounded like they were always on the verge of feeding back, like they had a little ring in them or something that was kind of weird. And I didn't really like that. Now, quick note about the drop-in harness. It did not drop in, and I know I did a super high-speed clip there, so you might not have been able to notice this, but the switch did not line up to the holes in the plate. So I ended up having to take the switch off of the old one. and you know, so I kind of had to make one harness out of two. Then the pots on the old one, when I took it apart, you remember, because it came all together, so I never like took that one apart. When I took it apart, I realized that they had wired it with 500K pots instead of 250K pots. And also they had used the audio taper pot as the tone and the linear taper pot as the volume, which is why I hated the way the volume rolled off on that thing. Now that may also be to blame for some of the shrillness. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you I am so much more happy with the way that it sounds now. When I posted my original video, someone asked me, how does this compare to a Squier Classic Vibe? And I was kind of like, well, that's kind of an unfair question considering a Classic Vibe's almost $500. And this is $100. But, then they said, well, okay, how does it compare to a Squier Sonic, which is like, about $220. So I think just out of the box, this thing is probably as good as a Squier Sonic. At this point, I think it walks all over a Squire Sonic. If you like what I do on this channel, please hit that subscribe button for me. And if you like this video, hit that like button. That really does help out the video and the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with another project soon.